Alright guys, this is my back half kit. It's from S&W Race Cars. It's a 4-link kit. It's 28 inches wide. I've said that in the previous video. It's pretty freaking awesome, I gotta admit. It's awesome. I like it. The welds are great. There's a ton of adjustment in the parallel 4-links. Bracketry is awesome. Everything seems great on it. It was actually fairly inexpensive compared to like the wheels and tires. I want to say it was around 600 bucks. So that puts me about $7,000 so far for this build. For the car itself, all the stuff I've already done to it, the wheels, tires, and now the back half frame. I don't have a lot of time today, unfortunately, because I've been working a ton, so I'm going to try and knock this thing out. I at least want to get it up in there, and I at least want to get it tack welded in, and just kind of sitting on its own, you know, the frame itself sitting on its own. So I'm going to breeze through some of this stuff. I'm going to record as much as I can, but honestly, I need to get this stuff done because I'm going to be pretty busy coming up in the next few weeks, and I've been pretty busy, so like I really only have a few hours to get this done, but I will try and show you some cool stuff along the way. So I guess I'm just going to get to it. At this point, I got the frame slid under here. I put it up on bottle jacks. I love bottle jacks and scissor jacks because I went to my local junkyard, pulled them out of a few cars, and honestly it's like really easy to square this thing up using those. I can get my side to side right, I can get everything height right, I can get everything perfect. But it's also hanging from these ratchet straps. These are just like the pull style. There's no actual weight on these. The only reason I have these here is so if I want to pull one of those bottle jacks out for whatever reason, I can then support it so it doesn't get too crazy. It's kind of like a precaution. Like I said, there's no actual weight on it. There's a bottle jack in the back that I'm using to get my forward and back, and then there's a bottle jack on each side so I can get my side to side. The reason I slid this thing under here, one is like I really like to see it before I start cutting it. I'm going to take it out and actually do my cuts, but I want to make sure I like the way everything looks before I just go out and start cutting it. The other thing is I'm kind of old school with this angle. I got really lucky because it's on like a perfect like symmetrical angle. But I like to like bust out the cardboard or whatever and draw lines with my own marker instead of just putting the angle finder on it and trying to figure it out. I do both, but it's just like an extra precaution. I like to do it that way. I've always done it that way. Once I've done that, I really just needed to do the two tops. It's 2x3 box steel, so if I do two sections of 2-inch paper or whatever you want to do, and then 3-inch, I can actually make a square and slide it over the tubes, and then once I know how wide I want it, I can go ahead and like trace the whole thing around it and make a better cut. It's kind of where I am right now. I'm not perfectly side to side. I'm going to pull this thing out, make sure it's square, do my final couple measurements, and then I'm going to cut this thing, slide it back in, get it the angle I want, and tack it. It's actually really close right now. I'm really excited about this. So I'm going to get some more work done. Alright guys, quick update. The frame is in. It's hanging, supported. It's got the jacks under it. And you can see if you can see, sorry, let me come around. I am lined up perfectly. So there's the line here. That's my 27 inches I need to be in front of. There's a line right here. I actually cut this all the way through. And the reason I cut this all the way through is because it's going to be really hard to get a cutoff wheel or anything in there when I go to lop off the rest of the frame. So I just did this face. It's fine. I want to plate the whole thing so I have something nice and welded up and solid and good to go. So I just went ahead and made that cut. Now, honestly, it's got a whole bunch of like fiddling to make sure my degrees are right, make sure this thing's level, side to side needs to be right. You don't necessarily know whether or not your frame is bent or has been in an accident or anything, so you want to take multiple measurements from a bunch of different places until you're happy with it. But the most important thing about being square is that you were square like here. So this center line, the center line I did for your rear axle, all that's what's most important about being square. That's why your center line measurement is so important. Everything behind the axle can be as crooked as you want. It doesn't matter. All that matters is your pickup points to the suspension, and your center line with your axle and everything is perfect and straight and good, and the car will drive straight and be fine. This is the boring part. It sucks. You're going to be fighting with this thing for a while. It's not weird to be fighting for this thing for like 4 hours. Kind of is what it is. This is something you need to get right, so I'm going to keep working at it. All right. It's a new day. I didn't get a lot of chance to record the other day because, like I said, I didn't have a lot of time. But it's in. It's in. It's tack welded. It's sitting on its own. I don't have any more ratchet straps holding it up, and it is awesome. So I squared it with the front. I found two places up front, like identical on both sides of the frame, and then ran the tape measure back to the front of this. The front of this cross member, made sure that was identical. Then I did this, basically crossed them, made sure they were identical that way. So everything was square. All that was fine. I mean, if you're doing something like this, take your time, dude. I spent probably an hour and a half, 2 hours making sure that this thing was good, because once it's welded in, it's done. If this thing is crooked, the car won't go straight. You can compensate by tilting the rear end with the 4 bars a bunch, but at some point, if it's far enough off, you didn't put this thing in right, like, you're screwed. So I took my time. Everything is good. I'm very happy with it. It's just tacked in place and it's ready to move on. But the next thing I need to do is I need to box the rear of this frame, because I am keeping some of it. I'm going to cut it off really where that line was going across. So like right around here, I'm going to cut it across. But I want to save the back of the frame rails. It's still holding up my trailer hitch. It's still holding up my bumper. I don't want to redesign all those brackets right now. In the future, I probably will. But for now, I'm going to box the frame rails. And I'm going to run outriggers to this thing, to the new frame, so the whole thing will support itself. And maybe in the future, if I go like fiberglass bumper and I ditch the hitch or make a new one coming off of this, it's easy enough to cut out from the outriggers, and that's it. So I'll get cracking on that. If you've never boxed your frame, it's pretty good. Even if you're not doing a back half thing, if you just have a cool A body and you're getting some flex, if you're kind of on it hard, boxing your frame's a good, cheap way of doing it. Kind of eliminating that flex. This is 1/8 inch thick. It is 3 inches, and this ends up being like 3 feet. I got this from my local hardware store. That is not the place to get this stuff. The reason I got it there is because there's an In-N-Out burger right next to it, and I was super hungry. It's way cheaper to get this from a metal supplier, especially if you're going to do the whole car. Also, get it longer. The less breaks in this thing, the better. If you can keep this thing long, it's just stronger, it's better, it's less you have to stitch together, it's less work, and I'm going to slam this thing in there, put some outriggers in it, and then I'm done, and this episode's done, and I can move on. I want to build my engine. I'm still waiting on my crank, but I got other stuff to do, you know? I need this thing to move forward. So, let's work on this really quick. Now, this is just some random cardstock or cardboard, whatever you want to use. I like to start with this. Luckily, this isn't C-channel. There's some imperfections, but honestly, this is pretty straightforward. Like, I'm going to slide this thing in there, and it's going to be good. I start with this, though, because it's a lot easier to cut up than the metal is, and let's just get started. Alright, well, I'm done. I gotta weld this cap on, and I gotta finish cutting this one and weld it on. But other than that, I'm done. The cradle, connected to the old frame, it's in. The old frame's all cut out where it needs to be. I've capped those. I fully welded those. This thing's supporting itself right now. I'm sitting on it. It's awesome. This was an awful lot of work, to be honest. A lot of it, most of it, was really just the cutting and making sure everything fit. And all in all, it's kind of an easy job. Like, it sounds crazy, but it's kind of an easy job. As long as you make sure you take your time and, like, make sure this whole thing's level, side to side, front to back, and make sure you put this thing in the right spot. Make sure your center line's measured perfect. This thing sits in 27 inches forward of the center line, and that's, like, the only measurement you need to just nail. And then make sure you're square. Make sure this thing's square in the frame, and, like, you're good to go, man. This thing's awesome. If you've done it before, I would say everything I've done, you could do it in a weekend. It took me a lot longer because I've been here doing, like, I show up and work for like 30 minutes, maybe 45 minutes, maybe an hour, and then that's it. I go home, and it sucks when you're trying to get something big like this done. It's really hard to get on a roll and just get stuff done. But I'm here. This is where I am. Next thing's the rear end. I'll put the tires under it so it looks cool. Get a shot of that. And I'm really happy with it. I really got to get in here and clean up a lot of the stuff I cut to get, like, push it back at exactly where I want, get rid of any sharp edges, and start really thinking about the next step in the sheet metal and my wheel tubs and all that. But first thing is roll cage. That's my next project. I'm going to do the roll cage so I can tie it into here and keep this project moving forward. I mean, I got all my stuff for my engine. Finally got my crank in for my engine, so I'm ready to get some more work done. Hopefully you liked it. If you have, like, specific questions, because I don't think I'm going to, like, go into great detail on how I did every step. If you're doing this job and you have questions, hit me up on Instagram, send me a direct message, or email me or whatever. If you have actual questions on this, like, specifics of this, I'll let you know, and I can probably send you actual footage if you really need it. So we'll really see what happens in the video, how much I actually include in it. I might just time-lapse a ton of it. But, yeah, that's it. I'll keep posting stuff when I keep doing stuff, so I'll catch you guys later.